Marcus Thornton's fist connected with the freshman's face so hard, blood sprayed across the lockers. The kid crumpled to the floor, glasses shattering, nose broken, crying for help that would never come. 50 students watched in silence. Teachers walked past pretending to see nothing. This was Marcus Thornton's kingdom, and in his kingdom, he was God. But the quiet black girl standing across the hallway didn't look away. She didn't flinch. She stared directly at Marcus, with eyes that held something he had never seen before. Zero fear. What Marcus didn't know, what would destroy everything he had built, was that this girl's father would arrive in 3 days, in a black Dodge Charger. And his name was Vin Diesel. Before we dive into this incredible story, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel and follow this journey all the way to the end. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens to Marcus Thornton. And drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel across the world. Now, let me show you how a girl named Zara Mitchell walked into this school and brought a king to his knees. Zara Mitchell watched Marcus Thornton wipe his hands on his Letterman jacket, like he'd just finished taking out the trash instead of assaulting a 14-year-old boy. The freshman was still on the ground, blood dripping onto his shirt, but nobody helped him up. Nobody even looked at him. She'd seen enough. Zara walked across the hallway, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Every student turned to watch. Who was this new girl? Why was she moving toward the bleeding freshman when everyone else was frozen? She knelt down beside him. "Can you stand?" she asked quietly. The boy looked up at her with terrified eyes. "Don't. He'll come after you too." "Can you stand?" she repeated. He nodded weakly. She helped him to his feet, picked up his broken glasses and handed them to him. "Nurse's office is down the hall to the left," she said. "Go." The boy didn't need to be told twice. He stumbled away, leaving a trail of blood drops behind him. Zara straightened up and turned around. Marcus Thornton was staring at her. "Who the hell are you?" he asked. "Nobody you need to worry about." She walked away before he could respond. Behind her, she heard his friends laughing nervously, heard Marcus say something she couldn't quite catch, heard the word dead somewhere in his response. Good. Let him be angry. Angry people made mistakes. Zara had been at Westbrook High for exactly 47 minutes, and she had already made an enemy of the most dangerous person in the building. Most people would call that stupid. Zara called it inevitable. She had never been able to watch someone get hurt and do nothing. That's what had gotten her expelled from her last school. And the school before that. And the school before that. Her phone buzzed. A text from Vin. "First day going okay." She smiled despite herself and typed back, "Made a friend, made an enemy. Standard stuff." His response came immediately. "That's my girl. Dinner at 7. Don't be late." She pocketed her phone and went to find her locker. The day was just getting started. By second period, Zara had already heard the whispers. "That's her, the one who helped Danny. She's dead. Marcus is going to destroy her." Who does she think she is? She ignored them all. She'd been the subject of whispers her whole life. In the group homes, the foster placements, the schools that passed her around like an unwanted package. Whispers didn't bother her anymore. What bothered her was the look on that freshman's face. Danny, apparently. The absolute terror in his eyes when she'd tried to help him. Like he'd already accepted that this was his life now. That there was no escape. She knew that look. She'd worn it herself for the first 8 years of her life. Third period was English with Mrs. Hammond. A nervous woman who kept glancing at the door like she expected someone to burst through it at any moment. Zara took a seat in the back and pulled out her notebook. "Class, we have a new student," Mrs. Hammond announced. "Zara Mitchell. Would you like to introduce yourself?" "No, thank you." Mrs. Hammond blinked. "It's tradition for new students to—" "I said no, thank you." The class went silent. Mrs. Hammond's face reddened. "Well, all right then. Let's continue with Chapter 6. Zara felt the eyes on her but didn't acknowledge them. She'd learned a long time ago that the less people knew about you, the safer you were. The door banged open. Marcus Thornton walked in like he owned the place, which in a way he did. "Sorry I'm late, Mrs. H," he said, not sounding sorry at all. "Had to take care of something." Mrs. Hammond just nodded, her eyes dropping to her desk. "Take your seat, Marcus." He walked down the aisle, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Zara. He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. He sat down in the desk directly behind her. "Hey, new girl," he whispered. "We need to talk." Zara didn't turn around. "No, we don't. You made a mistake this morning, a big one. I helped a kid who was bleeding. If that's a mistake, then I'll keep making it." Marcus leaned forward. She could feel his breath on the back of her neck. "You know what happens to people who get in my way? I'm guessing you're about to tell me. They disappear, not literally, but socially, academically, they stop existing. I can make your life here very, very difficult." Zara finally turned around. She looked him directly in the eyes. "You can try." Something flickered across Marcus's face. Surprise, maybe. He wasn't used to people looking at him without fear, especially not small, quiet girls who should have been terrified. "You've got a death wish," he said. "I've got standards. There's a difference." Mrs. Hammond cleared her throat nervously. "Is there a problem back there?" "No problem," Marcus said, leaning back in his seat, just welcoming the new girl. But his eyes never left Zara's, and hers never left his. The first battle had been fought. The war was just beginning. Lunch arrived, and with it the moment Zara had been expecting. She grabbed a tray, selected food she had no intention of eating, and scanned the cafeteria for an empty seat. There were none. Every table was full. Or at least every table suddenly became full whenever she approached. Students shifted to close gaps, placed bags on empty chairs, refused to meet her eyes. Marcus's doing, obviously. Word traveled fast. "Looking for somewhere to sit." Zara turned. A girl about her age stood behind her holding her own tray. She had sharp eyes and a knowing smile. "Everywhere seems to be taken," Zara said. "Yeah, funny how that works." The girl nodded toward a door at the far end of the cafeteria. "Follow me. I know a place." Zara hesitated. Trust didn't come easily to her. "I'm not one of his," the girl said, reading her expression. "I'm the opposite, actually. My name's Jasmine Torres. I run the school paper, and I've been waiting for someone like you for 2 years. Someone like me. Someone who isn't afraid of Marcus Thornton. Someone who might actually help me take him down." Zara studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Lead the way." The newspaper office was small, cramped, and covered floor to ceiling with papers, photos, and what looked like a very detailed investigation. "What is all this?" Zara asked, setting down her tray. Jasmine closed the door and locked it. 2 years of documentation. Every incident involving Marcus Thornton. Every person he's bullied, threatened, hurt. Dates, times, witnesses, evidence. Zara walked along the wall reading the notes. There were dozens of names, dozens of incidents. Some were minor. Some were horrifying. "Why haven't you gone public with this?" "Because no one will go on record. Everyone's terrified. Marcus's father is on the school board. He's donated millions. The administration protects Marcus because they can't afford not to." "And the students?" Jasmine's expression darkened. "Last year, a kid named Trevor tried to report Marcus for assault. A week later, drugs were found in Trevor's locker. Planted, obviously. He got expelled. His family had to move. Marcus did that? Everyone knows it. No one can prove it." Jasmine sat down on the edge of a desk. "That's how he operates. He's smart, careful. He never leaves fingerprints. But he destroys people, systematically. And no one does anything because everyone's afraid they'll be next." Zara looked at a photo on the wall. A girl maybe 15 with tear-streaked cheeks. "Who's this?" Jasmine's voice went quiet. "My best friend, Sophia." Marcus spread rumors about her. Sexual stuff. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. By the time the truth came out, she'd already tried to. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. She transferred 3 weeks later. I haven't seen her since. Jasmine looked up at Zara. "That's why I'm doing this. That's why I've been building this case for 2 years. I want to destroy him the way he destroyed her." Zara was silent for a long moment. "What do you need from me?" "Someone to go on record. Someone brave enough to stand up publicly and say what he did to them. If I have that, if I have one person willing to speak, I think others will follow. You want me to be the spark. I want you to be the match. I've got the gasoline." Jasmine gestured at the walls. "All of this is useless without someone willing to light it." Zara thought about the freshman this morning. Danny, the blood on his face, the fear in his eyes. She thought about Sophia, about all the others whose names covered these walls. She thought about the group home in Detroit where she'd spent the first 8 years of her life. The older kids who'd made her life hell. The adults who'd looked the other way. "I'm in," she said. Jasmine exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. "Really? But we do this my way. We don't rush. We don't make mistakes. We build the case until it's bulletproof, and then we don't just embarrass him, we end him." Jasmine nodded slowly. "Deal." They shook hands. Outside, the cafeteria buzzed with conversation and laughter. But in this small room, something had shifted. An alliance had been formed. A plan had been set in motion. And Marcus Thornton had no idea what was coming. The rest of the day was quiet. Too quiet. Zara kept waiting for something to happen for Marcus to make his move, but nothing came. Just the whispers, the stares, the silence that followed her wherever she went. She knew better than to think it was over. This was just the calm before the storm. After the final bell, she walked to her locker and found it covered in sticky notes. "Go home. Nobody wants you here. Know your place. You're dead." Zara read each one without expression. Then she methodically removed them, crumpled them into a ball, and tossed them in the trash. "He stayed after practice to do that." She turned. Jasmine was leaning against the adjacent locker. "He wants you to know it was him." Jasmine continued. "That's the point. He wants you scared." "I'm not scared." "I know. That's what makes you dangerous." Zara shouldered her backpack. "Same time tomorrow." Jasmine nodded. "Same time tomorrow." And Zara. "Yeah. Watch your back. Marcus doesn't like being challenged. And he's just getting started." Zara smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "So am I." The house was quiet when Zara got home. Quiet, but not empty. She could hear movement in the garage, the familiar sound of metal against metal. She dropped her backpack by the door and walked through the kitchen. The garage door was open, and there he was. Vin Diesel, up to his elbows in the engine of a 1970 Chevelle SS. "You're early," he said without looking up. "School let out early." "No, it didn't." Zara smiled despite herself. "Fine, I wanted to get out of there." Vin finally looked up. He studied her face for a long moment. "Rough first day. I've had worse." "That's not what I asked." She sighed and leaned against the workbench. "There's this guy, Marcus Thornton. He runs the school, bullies everyone. Teachers look the other way because his dad's on the school board. And you got on his radar. He beat up a freshman this morning, slammed him into a locker, broke his nose. Nobody did anything." She paused. "I helped the kid up. Marcus didn't like that." Vin set down his wrench and wiped his hands on a rag. "Come here." She walked over. He pulled her into a hug, the kind of solid grounding hug that had taken her years to accept, years to believe she deserved. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. I know, but now I've got a target on my back. You've always got a target on your back. That's what happens when you're the kind of person who stands up instead of looking away. He pulled back and looked at her. You want me to handle it? No. You sure? I need to handle this myself. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of starting over every time things get hard. Vin nodded slowly. Okay. But if it gets dangerous, I'll tell you, I promise. He studied her for another long moment. Then he smiled. You've come a long way, kid. I learned from the best. Damn right you did. He handed her a wrench. Now help me with this carburetor. It's being stubborn. They worked in silence for a while, the familiar rhythm of mechanical work, soothing Zara's frayed nerves. This was their thing. Cars, engines, problems you could solve with your hands. Dad? Yeah. This guy, Marcus, he's not like the bullies at my other schools. He's smart, careful. He destroys people and never gets caught. Vin was quiet for a moment. Then you'll have to be smarter, more careful. And when you take him down, make sure he stays down. That's the plan. Good. He tightened a bolt. Now tell me about this kid you helped. Danny. How do you know his name? I know everything. He grinned. Also, you texted me about it at lunch. Zara laughed. It felt good to laugh. It felt normal. He was so scared. Not just of Marcus. Of me helping him. Like he'd already given up. Some people do. Give up, I mean. They decide the world is the way it is, and there's no point fighting it. That's sad. That's survival. Not everyone has the strength to fight back. I do. Vin looked at her. There was something in his eyes. Pride, maybe. But also something else. Something that looked like recognition. Yeah, he said quietly. You do. The next morning, Zara arrived at school early. She wanted to check in on Danny, make sure he was okay after yesterday. She found him at his locker moving stiffly, a bandage across his nose. When he saw her coming, his eyes went wide with panic. What are you doing? He hissed. You can't be seen talking to me. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm fine. Please, just go. Danny, you don't understand. His voice cracked. Marcus already thinks I'm connected to you now. If he sees us talking, it'll get worse. So much worse. Zara felt something cold settle in her chest. What did he do? Danny wouldn't meet her eyes. What did he do? Nothing. Yet. But he sent me a message last night. Said he's watching. Said if I talk to you again, he'll... He didn't finish. He didn't have to. I'm sorry, Zara said quietly. I was trying to help. I know, and I appreciate it. But you can't save me. You can't save anyone. He finally looked at her, and the defeat in his eyes was devastating. Just save yourself. Get through the year, graduate, and forget this place ever existed. He walked away. Zara stood there for a long moment watching him go. Then she turned and walked in the opposite direction. Danny was wrong. She could save people. She would save people. Starting with him. Second period, English again. Marcus walked in late again, sat behind her again. Sleep well? He asked. She didn't respond. I asked you a question. I heard you. Then answer. Zara turned around. I slept fine. Thanks for your concern. Marcus smiled. You shouldn't have. You should have spent the night terrified, because I've been thinking about you, about what I'm going to do to you. Let me guess. Something creative. Something that sends a message. Something memorable. I can't wait. Mrs. Hammond cleared her throat. Zara, Marcus, is there something you'd like to share with the class? No, ma'am, Marcus said smoothly. Just getting to know the new student. Class continued. But the tension never dissipated. Zara could feel Marcus's eyes on her the whole time. Watching, waiting, planning. After class, she found Jasmine in the hallway. "He's escalating," Zara said. "Faster than I expected." "What happened?" "He's already gotten to Danny, threatened him. The kid's terrified to even look at me now." Jasmine's expression hardened. "That's Marcus's playbook. Isolate the target, cut off anyone who might help them, make them feel completely alone." "I know. I've seen it before." "Then you know what comes next." Zara nodded. "He'll start attacking my reputation, spreading rumors, turning people against me." "Can you handle it?" "I can handle anything. The question is, can we move faster, build the case quicker?" Jasmine hesitated. "We could, but if we rush, we might miss something. And if our case has holes, Marcus's father will exploit them. We need this to be airtight." "Then we make it airtight. Fast." Jasmine nodded. "Meet me after school. I've got some interviews lined up, people who might be ready to talk." "Who?" "You'll see." The interviews happened in the newspaper office one at a time, each person looking over their shoulder like they expected Marcus to burst through the door at any moment. First was a junior named Derek. He'd been Marcus's friend once, until he wasn't. "What happened?" Zara asked. Derek couldn't meet her eyes. "I made the mistake of beating Marcus at something. Video games of all things, stupid right. We were playing at a party, and I won, in front of people. And the next week someone spread a rumor that I'd cheated on the SATs. The school launched an investigation. My college recommendations were frozen. By the time they cleared me, the damage was done. Early admission deadlines had passed. I lost my shot at Duke. Can you prove Marcus did it? No, he's too smart for that, but everyone knows." Second was a sophomore named Ashley. She was trembling so badly she could barely hold her coffee cup. "Marcus and I dated for 3 months, she said. "When I tried to break up with him, She paused, took a breath. "He told me if I left him, he'd share pictures. Private pictures. I never sent him any, but he said he'd make some. AI stuff. And no one would be able to tell the difference." "Did he?" "I don't know. I'm still dating him. Officially. I'm too scared to find out." Zara felt sick. "You're still with him?" Ashley started crying. "I don't have a choice. Don't you understand? No one has a choice with Marcus. You do what he wants, or you get destroyed." Third was a freshman named Tyler. Small, quiet, the kind of kid who blended into the background. "He makes me do his homework," Tyler said flatly. "Every assignment, every test. If I refuse, he said he'll tell everyone I'm gay." "Are you?" "Does it matter? My parents are super religious. They'd kick me out. I'd have nowhere to go. So you just keep doing it." "What else can I do?" Interview after interview, story after story. Marcus Thornton had built an empire of fear brick by brick, victim by victim. And everyone who tried to fight back had been crushed. By the time the last person left, Zara was exhausted and furious. "This is worse than I thought," she said. Jasmine nodded grimly. "Now you understand. Marcus isn't just a bully, he's a predator, and the whole system protects him." "Not for much longer." "Are you sure about this?" "Once we start, there's no going back. He'll come after you with everything he has." Zara thought about Derek, who'd lost his dream school over a video game. About Ashley trapped in a relationship by threats and fear. About Tyler doing someone else's homework just to survive. About Danny too scared to even accept help. "I'm sure," she said. "Let's burn it all down." The next few days were hell. It started small. A rumor that Zara had been expelled from her last school for dealing drugs. Then another rumor that she'd assaulted a teacher. Then a third that she was mentally unstable, that she'd been in and out of institutions. None of it was true. All of it spread like wildfire. Students who had been curious about her now avoided her completely. Teachers looked at her with suspicion. Even some of her classmates started moving their seats away from her. Marcus watched it all with a satisfied smile. "Enjoying your first week?" he asked on Wednesday, cornering her by the vending machines. It's been educational. The rumors are just the beginning. By the time I'm done, you won't be able to show your face anywhere in this city. Zara tilted her head. That's a lot of effort for one girl. I must have really gotten under your skin. Marcus's smile faltered. You don't get under my skin. You're nothing. Then why are you working so hard to destroy me? He stepped closer, crowding her against the machine. Because I can. Because I enjoy it. Because you need to learn that there are consequences for disrespecting me. Zara didn't flinch. Didn't step back. Didn't give him an inch. You want to know what I learned in my first week, she said quietly. Enlighten me. I learned that you're not strong. You're just loud. There's a difference. Marcus's face darkened. You're going to regret saying that. Maybe, but not today. She stepped around him and walked away. Behind her, she heard him punch the vending machine hard enough to dent it. Good. He was losing control. And when bullies lost control, they made mistakes. Thursday night. Zara sat across from Vin at the kitchen table, pushing food around her plate. You're not eating, he observed. Not hungry. That bad. She set down her fork. He's systematic. Every day something new. Rumors. Isolation. Intimidation. He's trying to break me down piece by piece. Is it working? No. But it's exhausting. And I can't stop thinking about all the other kids he's done this to. The ones who didn't have someone like you to come home to. Vin was quiet for a moment. You know why I adopted you? He asked suddenly. Zara looked up surprised. Because you're a good person who wanted to help a kid in need. Partly, but that's not the whole story. He leaned back in his chair. When I walked into that group home in Detroit, I wasn't planning to adopt anyone. I was there for a photo op. Charity stuff. Good PR. She'd never heard this before. But then I saw you, 8 years old, sitting in the corner watching everyone with these eyes that had seen too much. And when I tried to talk to you, you didn't smile, didn't try to impress me. You just looked at me and said, I know who you are. You're not going to save me. Vin nodded. That's when I knew. You were too smart, too strong, too cynical for your own good. And you were exactly the kind of kid who would either change the world or be destroyed by it. So you adopted me to what makes sure I didn't get destroyed. I adopted you because I recognized myself in you. The anger, the determination, the refusal to back down even when everything's against you. He smiled. And because I wanted to see what you'd become if someone actually gave you a chance. Zara felt tears prickling at her eyes. She blinked them back. What if I can't beat him, Dad? What if Marcus wins? Then you lose, and you learn, and you try again. He reached across the table and squeezed her hand. But you won't lose. You know why. Why? Because losing isn't in your nature. It never has been. She held his hand tight. Thanks, Dad. Anytime, kid. Now eat your dinner. You're going to need your strength. Friday arrived. Spirit Week had officially begun, and the whole school was buzzing with energy. Pep rallies, decorations, school spirit that felt more like cult worship. And at the center of it all was Marcus Thornton being celebrated as the star quarterback, the golden boy, the pride of Westbrook High. Zara watched from the sidelines as students cheered his name, as teachers praised his leadership, as the administration treated him like royalty. It made her sick. This is disgusting, Jasmine muttered beside her. It's a show, and every show has a final act. You ready for yours? Zara had been thinking about this all week. The plan was simple but risky. She needed Marcus to lose control in public. To do something so outrageous that even his father couldn't cover it up. I'm ready, she said. Pep rally is this afternoon. The whole school will be there. I know. You sure about this? Once you start, you can't stop. Zara looked at Marcus, laughing with his friends, basking in adoration he hadn't earned. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The gymnasium was packed, every seat filled. Students, teachers, parents, even local media here to cover the big game this weekend. This was Marcus Thornton's stage. It was also about to become his downfall. Zara sat in the back watching as the cheerleaders performed, as the band played, as the energy built toward the main event. When Marcus took the microphone, the crowd went wild. "How's everybody feeling tonight?" he shouted. Cheers, screams, stamping feet. "I can't hear you," I said. "How's everybody feeling?" Even louder now. The golden boy had the whole school in the palm of his hand. "That's what I like to hear. Because this weekend we're going to crush Central High. We're going to show them what Westbrook is made of. We're going to—" He stopped. His eyes had found Zara in the crowd. Something shifted in his expression. The showman facade cracked just for a moment. But Zara saw it, and so did everyone around her. "Actually," Marcus said slowly, "before we talk about the game, there's something else we need to address." The crowd went quiet, confused. "We've got a new student this year. Some of you might have heard about her. Zara Mitchell." Murmurs now. People turning to look at her. "Stand up, Zara. Let everyone see you." She didn't move. "I said stand up." Slowly, deliberately, Zara rose to her feet. "There she is," Marcus said, his voice dripping with false friendliness. "The girl who thinks she's better than all of us, who comes into our school, our home, and disrespects everything we've built." More murmurs, some confused, some hostile. "You know what I love about Westbrook," Marcus continued. "We don't let outsiders come in and change who we are. We put them in their place." He was working the crowd now, feeding off their energy, turning them against her. "So, here's my question, Zara." He pointed the microphone at her like a weapon. "Do you know your place?" Silence. Every eye in the gymnasium was on her. Zara smiled. "Yeah, Marcus, I do." She started walking down the bleachers toward the floor. Students moved aside to let her pass. The gymnasium was absolutely still. "My place is wherever I decide it is," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the space. "Not where you tell me. Not where your daddy's money buys you. I decide. Me." Marcus's expression flickered. This wasn't going the way he'd planned. "You think you're tough," he said, stepping toward her. "You think you can just walk in here and—" "I think you're scared," Zara interrupted. "I think you've been scared since the first day I looked at you and didn't look away. I think you've spent this whole week trying to break me because you can't handle the fact that someone finally sees you for what you really are." "And what's that?" "Weak." The gymnasium gasped. "You heard me," Zara continued. "Weak. A scared little boy who can only feel big by making everyone else feel small. That's not strength. That's pathetic." Marcus's face contorted with rage. He stepped closer, towering over her. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A bully, a coward, and pretty soon everyone else is going to know too." Marcus grabbed her arm. The gymnasium went absolutely silent. "Let go of me," Zara said quietly. "Or what?" "Let go. Make me." Zara didn't move. She just looked past Marcus toward the entrance and smiled. "I don't have to." Marcus frowned. "What does that—" The roar of an engine, loud, unmistakable, getting closer. The gymnasium doors burst open, and there, framed in the doorway, was a black Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat. The driver's door opened. Vin Diesel stepped out. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The most famous action star in the world was standing in the gymnasium of Westbrook High School in Atlanta, Georgia. And he was looking directly at Marcus Thornton. Marcus's grip on Zara's arm loosened. His face went white. "That's my dad," Zara said quietly. "Still think I'm nobody." Vin walked across the gymnasium floor. Every step echoed in the silence. He stopped a few feet from Marcus, his arms crossed over his massive chest. "Let go of my daughter." His voice was calm, almost gentle, but there was something underneath it that made grown men take a step back. Marcus's hand dropped like he'd been burned. I didn't know. You didn't know what—" Vin tilted his head. "You didn't know that she had a father who would show up when some punk put his hands on her. I'm sorry, You're sorry." Vin looked around the gymnasium at the hundreds of students watching with wide eyes. "You hear that, everyone? He's sorry." He turned back to Marcus. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my daughter alone. You're going to leave every kid in this school alone. And if I ever hear that you've put your hands on anyone ever again, I won't show up at your pep rally." He stepped closer. "I'll show up at your house." Marcus's knees were actually shaking. "Do we understand each other?" Yes, sir." "Good." Vin looked at Zara. "Let's go, kid." She walked past Marcus without a second glance. Without a word. Without giving him the satisfaction of even acknowledging his existence. They got in the car. The engine roared back to life, and as they drove away, Zara looked in the rearview mirror at the gymnasium full of stunned faces at Marcus Thornton standing frozen in the middle of the floor at the kingdom of fear that had just come crashing down. She smiled. "That was dramatic," she said. Vin grinned. "I know how to make an entrance." Marcus looked like he was going to faint. He should have. That kid's lucky I didn't do what I wanted to do. Which was? Vin didn't answer. He just kept grinning. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Zara said something she'd been thinking all week. "This isn't over. You know that, right?" Vin nodded. "I know." Marcus isn't going to stop just because he's scared. If anything, he's going to be more dangerous now. Embarrassed. Desperate. Then we deal with it. No. Zara shook her head. I deal with it. You showing up today was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. But the rest of this taking Marcus down for good, I have to do that myself. Vin looked at her for a long moment. You sure? I'm sure. I have a plan. I have allies. And now I have momentum. She smiled. Marcus Thornton picked a fight with the wrong girl. And I'm just getting started. Vin grinned. That's my girl. They drove home as the sun set over Atlanta, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Behind them at Westbrook High School, Marcus Thornton was still standing in the middle of the gymnasium, surrounded by whispers and stares. The king had been challenged. And the revolution had just begun. The video hit the internet 47 minutes after Vin Diesel drove away from Westbrook High School. By midnight, it had 2 million views. By morning, it was everywhere. Every news outlet, every social media platform, every group chat in Atlanta was talking about the same thing. Vin Diesel shows up at high school to confront his daughter's bully. The footage was shaky, filmed on a dozen different phones, from a dozen different angles, but the message was crystal clear. Marcus Thornton had messed with the wrong girl. Zara watched the coverage from her bedroom, scrolling through comments that ranged from supportive to cruel. Some people called her a hero. Others called her a spoiled celebrity kid who couldn't fight her own battles. A few even defended Marcus, saying he was just a teenager who made a mistake. Her phone buzzed. Jasmine. You seeing this? Hard to miss. Marcus is trending, not in a good way. Zara sat up. What do you mean? People are digging. Old posts, old photos, old stories. Someone started a thread asking if anyone else had been bullied by him. It's got over 1,000 replies already. Zara's heart started beating faster. This was exactly what they had been building toward, but it was happening too fast, too publicly, without their control. We need to meet, she said. Tomorrow, early. I'll be at school by 7. Zara hung up and stared at her phone. The revolution had begun, but revolutions were messy, unpredictable, and Marcus Thornton wasn't going to go down without a fight. She was right. Saturday morning, Zara came downstairs to find Vin sitting at the kitchen table with a serious expression. His phone was in his hand and he was reading something that made his jaw tight. "What's wrong?" she asked. Vin looked up. "Thornton's father. He's making moves." "What kind of moves?" "The legal kind. His lawyers sent a letter to the school district this morning. They're claiming I threatened Marcus. They want me banned from school property, and they're threatening a restraining order." Zara felt ice form in her stomach. "Can they do that?" "They can try. Their argument is that I used my celebrity status to intimidate a minor." Vin set down his phone. "It's garbage, but garbage can still cause problems if the right people believe it." "So what do we do?" "We wait. My lawyers are handling it. But in the meantime, I need you to be careful. Everything you do at school is going to be scrutinized. They're looking for any excuse to turn this around on us." Zara nodded slowly. She had expected pushback. She hadn't expected it this fast or this aggressive. "There's something else," Vin said. "What?" "The school board is holding an emergency meeting Monday night. Marcus's father called it. He wants to discuss appropriate consequences for students who bring outside parties into school conflicts." "Outside parties? Meaning you?" "Meaning me." Vin leaned back in his chair. "He's trying to make this about me, not about what Marcus did. Classic deflection." Zara felt anger rising in her chest. "So Marcus beats up kids, threatens students, destroys lives, and his father's response is to attack you. That's how people like them operate. They never accept responsibility. They just redirect blame until everyone forgets what actually happened." "I won't let them forget." Vin studied her for a moment. "What are you planning?" "Jasmine and I have been building a case, interviews, evidence, documentation. Everything Marcus has done for the past 2 years." She met her father's eyes. "If Thornton's father wants a fight, we'll give him one. But we'll fight with facts, not lawyers." Vin was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Just be careful. These people play dirty." "So do I." Sunday was quiet. Too quiet. Zara spent the day reviewing everything she and Jasmine had compiled, organizing it into a timeline identifying the strongest testimonies and the most damning evidence. By evening, she had a folder that could destroy Marcus Thornton's reputation forever. The question was how and when to use it. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Silence on the other end. Then breathing. Heavy. Angry. "You think you've won?" "Marcus." His voice was different, stripped of the cocky confidence she'd heard at school. Raw. Dangerous. "I haven't won anything yet," she said calmly. "You humiliated me, in front of the whole school, in front of the whole internet." "You humiliated yourself. I just made sure people saw it." "My father is going to bury you, your whole family. By the time his lawyers are done, you'll wish you never transferred to Westbrook." Zara felt her pulse quicken, but she kept her voice steady. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. You wanted war. You got it." "I didn't want war, Marcus. I wanted you to leave people alone. You're the one who couldn't do that." "This isn't over." "You're right. It's not. Because I have something you don't." "What's that?" "The truth. About everything you've done, every person you've hurt, every life you've destroyed. I have it all. And if your father pushes this, if he tries to bury me, I'll make sure the whole world sees exactly who his son really is." Silence. "You're bluffing." "Try me." The line went dead. Zara stared at her phone, her hands shaking slightly. Not from fear, from adrenaline. The game had changed. This wasn't just about surviving high school anymore. This was war. And she intended to win. Monday morning arrived with a tension that hung over Westbrook High like a storm cloud. Everyone had seen the video. Everyone was talking. And everyone was watching to see what would happen next. Zara walked through the front doors with her head high, ignoring the whispers and stares. She had spent all night preparing for this. Whatever Marcus threw at her, She was ready. She found Jasmine waiting by her locker, looking more anxious than Zara had ever seen her. "We have a problem," Jasmine said. "What kind of problem?" "Ashley, the girl who's been dating Marcus against her will. She came to me this morning. She wants to go public." Zara frowned. "That's not a problem. That's exactly what we need." "You don't understand. She wants to go public today, at the school board meeting tonight. She wants to stand up in front of everyone and tell them what Marcus did to her. That's incredibly brave. It's incredibly dangerous. If she does this without preparation, without protection, Marcus's father will destroy her. He'll dig up everything about her past. Twist her words, make her look like a liar." Zara thought quickly. "Then we prepare her. We spend today making sure her testimony is bulletproof." "There's more. She's not the only one. 3 other students reached out this morning. They all want to speak." Zara's eyes widened. 3 others. Derek Tyler and someone new. A senior named Michelle. Apparently Marcus did something to her last year that she's never told anyone about. Until now. The tide was turning, faster than Zara had anticipated. "Get them all together. Somewhere private. We need to coordinate this." Jasmine nodded. "The newspaper office. Lunch period." "I'll be there." First period passed in a blur. Zara couldn't focus on anything the teacher was saying. Her mind was racing with possibilities, strategies, contingencies. 4 students willing to speak out. 4 testimonies that could corroborate each other. 4 nails in Marcus Thornton's coffin. But it was also 4 targets for his father's lawyers. Second period. English. Mrs. Hammond. Zara took her usual seat in the back. She waited for Marcus to walk in late, to sit behind her, to whisper threats in her ear like he always did. He never showed. The absence was more unsettling than his presence would have been. Where was he? What was he planning? Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Check the bulletin board by the gym." Zara's stomach dropped. She raised her hand. "Mrs. Hammond, may I use the restroom?" The teacher nodded absently, and Zara slipped out of the classroom. She walked quickly through the empty hallways, her footsteps echoing off the linoleum. The bulletin board by the gym was usually covered with flyers for clubs and events. Today, it was covered with something else. Photos. Photos of Zara. Old photos from before her adoption. Photos from the group home in Detroit. Photos of a scared, broken little girl with hollow eyes and dirty clothes. And underneath a single printed message. "This is who she really is. A charity case. A nobody. Don't let her fool you." Zara stood frozen, staring at the images of her past, splashed across the wall for everyone to see. How had he gotten these? Who had given them to him? She heard footsteps behind her, and spun around. Marcus stood at the end of the hallway, arms crossed, that familiar smirk back on his face. "What's wrong, Zara? I thought you wanted everyone to know the truth." She couldn't speak. For the first time since she'd arrived at Westbrook, she felt genuinely shaken. "You want to play games with my reputation? Fine, let's play." He started walking toward her. "Let's see how people feel about you when they find out you're nothing but a throwaway kid who got lucky." "How did you get these?" "My father has resources, investigators, people who know how to dig up dirt." He stopped a few feet away. "Did you really think you could take on my family? We've been doing this for generations. You're just a foster kid with a famous daddy. You're nothing." Something cracked inside Zara. Not broken, released. "You're right," she said quietly. Marcus blinked, surprised. "What?" "I said you're right. I was a foster kid. I grew up in group homes. I had nothing and no one for the first 8 years of my life." She stepped toward him. "And you know what? I'm not ashamed of it. Not for 1 second. You should be. Look at yourself. Look at where you came from." "I look at where I came from every single day. It reminds me what I survived. It reminds me that I'm stronger than you will ever be." She reached up and tore one of the photos off the board. This scared little girl. She made it. She survived things you couldn't imagine, and she turned into someone who doesn't back down from bullies like you. She tore down another photo, and another. "So thank you, Marcus. Thank you for reminding everyone exactly who I am. A survivor, a fighter, someone who came from nothing and built something real." She had all the photos in her hands now. She looked Marcus directly in the eyes. "You think this hurts me? This is my strength. What's yours? Daddy's money, Daddy's lawyers. Without your family, you're nothing, and everyone's about to find out." She walked past him, bumping his shoulder as she went. "See you at the board meeting tonight." Marcus didn't follow. Lunch period, the newspaper office. Zara walked in to find Jasmine, Ashley, Derek, Tyler, and a girl she didn't recognize sitting in a circle of chairs. They all looked nervous, scared, but they were there. "Everyone, this is Zara," Jasmine said. "Zara, this is Michelle." Michelle was a senior with red-rimmed eyes and hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Whatever Marcus had done to her, it was bad. "Thank you all for being here," Zara said, taking a seat. "I know this isn't easy." "Easy." Derek laughed bitterly. "Marcus's father could destroy our futures, our families, everything." "He could try," Zara said. "But he can't destroy all of us, not if we stand together." "How do you know?" Ashley asked. "How do you know this will work?" "I don't, not for certain. But I know that staying silent hasn't worked. I know that letting Marcus win hasn't made anyone's life better. And I know that right now, for the first time, we have a chance to change things." She looked around the room at each of them. "Marcus's power comes from fear. He keeps you isolated, keeps you scared, keeps you thinking you're alone. But you're not alone, not anymore." Tyler spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if we testify, and nothing happens? What if his father makes it all go away?" "Then at least we tried. At least we stood up. At least we told the truth." Zara leaned forward. "But I don't think nothing will happen. Because tonight we're not just telling our stories, we're telling them together. We're showing the school board, the parents, the whole community exactly who Marcus Thornton is. And once people see the pattern, once they hear how many of us he's hurt, they won't be able to look away." Michelle finally spoke. Her voice was raw, broken. "He told me no one would believe me. He said I was nothing. That my word meant nothing against his." "He was wrong," Zara said softly. "Your word matters. Your story matters. You matter." Tears rolled down Michelle's cheeks. "I've never told anyone what he did, not even my parents." "You don't have to tell us now if you're not ready." "No." Michelle wiped her eyes. "I want to. I need to. Because if I don't, he'll just keep doing it to other girls." She took a shaky breath. "It was last spring, at Tyler Morrison's party. Marcus and I were in the same friend group. I thought he was my friend." She paused. The room was absolutely silent. "He got me alone, in a bedroom upstairs. I thought we were just talking. And then—" Her voice broke. Ashley reached over and took her hand. Michelle gripped it tightly. "He didn't go all the way. Someone knocked on the door and interrupted. But what he did, the things he said, I've never been the same." "Did you tell anyone?" "I tried to tell a teacher. She said I shouldn't make accusations without proof, that it would ruin his football career." Michelle's voice turned bitter. "His career, like that mattered more than what happened to me." Zara felt sick and furious. "Tonight you tell everyone, and this time they'll listen." Michelle nodded slowly. "I'm ready." The afternoon crawled by. Zara couldn't focus on anything except the meeting tonight. Everything they had been building toward came down to this. At 3:30, her phone buzzed. A text from Vin. "I'll be there tonight. in the audience. Not causing trouble, just supporting you. She smiled despite her nerves. Thanks, Dad. Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. At 6:45, the school board meeting room was packed. Parents, teachers, students, even some local reporters who had caught wind of the story. Marcus's father sat in the front row, flanked by two lawyers in expensive suits. His expression was calm, confident. A man who was used to winning. Marcus sat beside him, looking smaller than Zara had ever seen him. Gone was the swagger, the arrogance. He looked like a scared kid sitting next to a father who terrified him. For a brief moment, Zara almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The board president called the meeting to order. We're here tonight to discuss recent events at Westbrook High School. Mr. Thornton has requested time to address the board. Marcus's father stood smoothly, buttoning his jacket as he approached the podium. Thank you, President Morrison. I'll be brief. My son has been the victim of a coordinated harassment campaign led by a new student and her celebrity father. What happened at the pep rally last week was nothing short of assault by intimidation. A grown man, a famous actor, came into a school gymnasium and threatened a 17-year-old boy in front of hundreds of witnesses. He paused for effect. I'm here to request that the school take immediate action. First, I want Zara Mitchell suspended for orchestrating this harassment. Second, I want Vin Diesel permanently banned from all school property. And third, I want assurances that my son will be protected from any further attacks on his character. Murmurs rippled through the audience. That's all I have to say. He returned to his seat, looking satisfied. The board president cleared his throat. Is there anyone who wishes to respond? Zara stood. I do. Every eye in the room turned to her as she walked to the podium. She could feel Marcus's glare boring into her back. She could feel his father's cold assessment. She could also feel Vin's steady presence somewhere behind her. My name is Zara Mitchell. I transferred to Westbrook High School 2 weeks ago, and in those 2 weeks I've witnessed things that made me sick. She took a breath. Marcus Thornton isn't the victim here. He's the perpetrator, and I'm not the only one who knows it. She turned to face the audience. There are students in this room tonight who have been bullied, threatened, and assaulted by Marcus Thornton. Students who have been too scared to speak because they knew no one would believe them. Students whose lives have been destroyed, while the adults who should have protected them looked the other way. She looked directly at the board. Tonight those students are going to speak, and I hope for once someone will actually listen. She stepped aside. Ashley stood first, then Derek, then Tyler, then Michelle. One by one, they walked to the podium and told their stories. The extortion, the threats, the planted evidence, the assault. By the time Michelle finished speaking, half the room was in tears. Marcus's father was on his feet, his face purple with rage. This is outrageous. These are unsubstantiated accusations from troubled students with obvious axes to grind. My lawyers will. Sit down, Mr. Thornton. The board president's voice was ice cold. I said sit down. Thornton sat. The president looked at the board members. They nodded one by one. Based on the testimony we've heard tonight, we are launching a full investigation into Marcus Thornton's conduct at Westbrook High School. Pending the outcome of that investigation, Marcus is suspended immediately. The room erupted. Marcus shot to his feet. This is garbage. You can't do this to me. Do you know who my father is? Your father, the president said quietly, is not above the law, and neither are you. Security escorted Marcus and his father out of the building. As they passed Zara, Marcus leaned close. This isn't over. Zara met his eyes. You're right, it's not, because I'm just getting started. Later that night, Zara sat on the front porch with Vin watching the stars. You did good today, kid. It doesn't feel like enough. Marcus is suspended, but he's not gone. His father is still powerful. And there are so many other bullies out there in so many other schools doing the same things. You can't save everyone. I know. But I can try. Vin put his arm around her. That's what makes you special, Zara. Not me. Not my name or my money or my fame. You. Your heart. Your courage. Your refusal to look away when someone needs help. She leaned into him, feeling safe for the first time all day. Dad. Yeah. Thank you for letting me do this my way. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. They sat in comfortable silence as the night deepened around them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Marcus wasn't finished. His father wasn't finished. The fight was far from over. But tonight, they had won a battle. And sometimes that was enough. Tuesday morning came with a phone call that changed everything. Zara was eating breakfast when Vin's phone rang. He answered, listened for 30 seconds, and his face went pale. When? He asked, more listening. How bad? His jaw tightened. We'll be there. He hung up and looked at Zara. Danny Chen is in the hospital. Zara's spoon clattered against her bowl. What happened? Someone jumped him last night, behind the convenience store near his house. 3 guys in masks. They beat him unconscious and left him in the parking lot. Is he going to be okay? They don't know yet. He's got a fractured skull, broken ribs, internal bleeding. Vin's voice was hard. His parents found him this morning. He'd been lying there all night. Zara felt like she couldn't breathe. Danny. The freshman she'd helped on her first day. The kid who'd been too scared to even talk to her because Marcus was watching. It was Marcus, she said. We don't know that. Yes, we do. This is retaliation. For the board meeting. For the suspension. Her hands were shaking. Danny testified. He was one of the students who came forward, and now he's in the hospital. Vin didn't argue. He couldn't. Get dressed, he said. We're going to the hospital. The drive was silent. Zara stared out the window, watching Atlanta blur past her mind, racing with guilt and fury. She had pushed Danny to testify. She had told him it would be okay, that they would protect him. She had lied. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. Danny's parents were in the waiting room, his mother crying, his father staring at the wall with empty eyes. When they saw Vin and Zara, something complicated crossed their faces. You're the girl, Danny's mother said. The one who helped him that first day. Yes, ma'am. And you're the one who convinced him to speak at the board meeting. Zara felt the accusation beneath the words. I didn't convince him. I just gave him the opportunity. And now my son is in the ICU with a fractured skull. I'm so sorry. I never thought... No, you didn't think. Danny's mother stood up, her grief turning to anger. You came to our school with your famous father and your crusade for justice, and you never stopped to think about what would happen to the rest of us when you were done. That's not fair, Zara said quietly. Fair? My son is 14 years old. He has a breathing tube down his throat. Don't talk to me about fair. Vin stepped forward. Mrs. Chen, I understand you're upset. Upset. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. My son might die because your daughter wanted to play hero. So please don't tell me you understand. She walked away, back to her husband, back to their vigil for a son who might never wake up. Zara stood, frozen, tears streaming down her face. She's right, she whispered. This is my fault. No. Vin gripped her shoulders. This is Marcus Thornton's fault. Don't ever forget that. But if you hadn't done anything, Marcus would still be hurting people. Danny would still be living in fear. Nothing would have changed. At least he wouldn't be dying. Vin pulled her into a hug. She sobbed against his chest, all the fear and guilt and rage pouring out of her. What do we do now? She asked when she could finally speak. We finish what we started. We make sure this never happens to anyone else. How? By putting Marcus Thornton away for good. Wednesday. The police interviewed Zara at school. Detective Sarah Williams, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who clearly wasn't impressed by celebrity or wealth. Tell me about your relationship with Marcus Thornton. He's been bullying me since my first day, and not just me, dozens of students. I'm aware. I've read the statements from the board meeting. The detective leaned forward. What I need to know is whether you have any information about the attack on Daniel Chen. I know Marcus did it, or had it done. That's an accusation. I need evidence. Check his phone. Check his friends' phones. Check the alibis of everyone on the football team. We're doing all of that. What I'm asking is whether you have direct knowledge of the attack. Zara hesitated. No. But Marcus called me Sunday night, threatened me, said this isn't over. Do you have a recording? No. The detective sighed. Without evidence, there's not much I can do. Marcus's father has already provided alibis for his son and his closest friends. They were at a charity dinner on the other side of town when the attack happened. That's convenient. Very. Detective Williams looked at Zara with something like respect. I believe you, Miss Mitchell. I've been watching the Thorntons for years. I know what they're capable of, but belief isn't proof, and proof is what I need. So he just gets away with it. For now. But people like Marcus Thornton always slip up eventually. And when he does, I'll be waiting. She stood to leave, then paused. In the meantime, be careful. You've made powerful enemies, and they clearly don't have any lines they won't cross. Thursday brought an unexpected visitor. Zara was at her locker when a shadow fell across her. She turned, expecting trouble, and found herself face to face with someone she'd never seen before. A girl, maybe 17, with expensive clothes and haunted eyes. You're Zara Mitchell. Who's asking? My name is Rebecca Thornton. She paused. Marcus is my brother. Zara's whole body went rigid. What do you want? To help you destroy him. Of all the things Zara had expected, that wasn't one of them. Why would you want to destroy your own brother? Rebecca's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Pain. Deep old pain. Because he's not just a bully to strangers. He's a monster to everyone, including his own family. What do you mean? Not here. Too many eyes. Rebecca glanced around. Meet me at the public library on Peachtree, 6 o'clock. Come alone. She walked away before Zara could respond. Zara spent the rest of the day in a daze. Was this a trap? A setup? Some twisted game the Thorntons were playing? Or was it real? She called Jasmine. Marcus's sister wants to meet me. What, why? She says she wants to help destroy him. Silence on the other end. That could be huge, Jasmine finally said. If she has inside information. It could also be a trap. True. What are you going to do? Zara thought about Danny lying in a hospital bed, about all the other victims who were too scared to come forward, about Marcus still walking free, despite everything he'd done. I'm going to meet her. Zara. I have to know. If there's even a chance she's telling the truth, I have to know. Then I'm coming with you. She said come alone. I'll stay outside, in the car. If anything goes wrong, I'll call the police. Zara smiled despite herself. Thanks, Jasmine. That's what friends are for. Now let's figure out how to take down a monster. 6 o'clock. The Peachtree Library. Zara found Rebecca in the back corner at a table hidden behind stacks of dusty books. She looked even more fragile than she had at school, like a strong wind might shatter her. You came, Rebecca said. You asked me to. Zara sat down across from her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Why do you want to help me? Zara finally asked. Rebecca's hands twisted in her lap. Because I've been waiting my whole life for someone brave enough to stand up to him, and you're the first person who ever has. I'm not the first. I'm just the first who didn't back down. Same thing. Rebecca took a shaky breath. You want to know who Marcus really is, I'll tell you. But first, you need to understand something about my family. I'm listening. My father isn't just on the school board. He's connected to everything in this city. Politics, business, law enforcement. He's built an empire on fear and favors, and Marcus learned from the best. I figured that much. What you don't know is that Marcus isn't my father's pride and joy. He's his weapon. My father raised him to be exactly what he is. Cruel, ruthless, untouchable. And anyone who gets in Marcus's way gets destroyed. Not by Marcus, by my father. So your father is the real power behind all this? Yes. The lawyers, the cover-ups, the intimidation. That's all him. Marcus just does the dirty work. Why are you telling me this? Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. Because I can't take it anymore. Living in that house, watching my brother hurt people, watching my father protect him, pretending everything is normal. Her voice cracked. Do you know what it's like to grow up in a family of monsters? Zara thought about the group home in Detroit, the older kids who had tormented her, the adults who had looked the other way. Yeah, she said quietly. I do. Something shifted between them. Understanding. Recognition. I have evidence, Rebecca said. Things my father doesn't know I've seen. Documents. Recordings. Proof of everything they've done. Zara's heart started racing. What kind of evidence? Payoffs to witnesses. Threats to victims. Communications about covering up Marcus's crimes. Rebecca leaned forward, including the attack on Danny Chen. You have proof Marcus was involved. I have proof my father hired the men who did it. 3 guys from out of state. Ex-cons on his payroll. He's used them before. Zara felt like the ground was shifting beneath her. This was it. This was everything they needed. Why haven't you gone to the police? Because my father owns half the police in this city. Any evidence I give them will disappear, and I'll disappear with it. Then what do you want me to do? I want you to take this public. All of it. In a way that can't be covered up or suppressed. I want the whole world to see what my family really is. That would destroy your father, your whole family. Good. Rebecca's voice was hard now, cold. They deserve to be destroyed. Zara studied her for a long moment. This was either the break they'd been waiting for or the most elaborate trap ever set. How do I know I can trust you? Rebecca reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive. You don't, but this is real. Look at it, verify it, and when you're ready, use it. She placed the drive on the table between them. One more thing, she said. Marcus knows you're a threat, but he doesn't know about me. If he finds out I'm helping you, he'll kill me. I'm not exaggerating. He's threatened it before. Your own brother. You still don't understand, do you? Marcus doesn't have family. He doesn't have friends. He has victims and enemies. That's all. Rebecca stood up. Be careful, Zara. You're in deeper than you know. She walked away, leaving the flash drive on the table. Zara picked it up, feeling its weight. Such a small thing, but it could change everything. That night, Zara and Jasmine gathered at Zara's house, with Vin looking over their shoulders. They plugged the flash drive into a laptop that wasn't connected to the internet. The files were extensive. Emails, bank records, recorded phone calls, a paper trail of corruption that went back years. Oh my God, Jasmine breathed. This is everything. There were records of payoffs to police officers, judges, school board members. There were threats sent to victims' families. There were detailed plans for destroying anyone who crossed the Thorntons. And there, in a folder labeled Chen Incident, were communications between Marcus's father and 3 men named Rodriguez Thompson and Blake. $20,000 each, Zara read, for services rendered at the target location. That's the attack on Danny, Jasmine said. That's proof. It's proof of who hired them, not proof Marcus was involved. Keep looking. They dug deeper, and then Zara found it. A text message from Marcus to his father, dated the night before the attack. Danny Chen testified. Make him regret it. And his father's response. Consider it done. Zara felt sick. They planned it. Father and son. Together. Vin's face was stone. Download everything. Make copies. Store them in multiple locations. What are you going to do? I'm going to call some friends, journalists, real ones, people who can't be bought or intimidated. He looked at Zara. When this goes public, it's going to be a firestorm. Are you ready for that? I've been ready since the first day I walked into that school. That's my girl. Friday, the last day before everything exploded. Zara went to school like nothing had changed. She sat through classes, ate lunch with Jasmine, avoided Marcus's remaining friends who glared at her from across hallways. But underneath the surface wheels were turning. Vin had contacted 3 major news outlets. A journalist from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution was already reviewing the evidence. A producer from CNN had expressed interest. Even a reporter from the New York Times had reached out. The story was too big to ignore. A wealthy family, a culture of abuse, a cover-up that stretched across an entire city. It had everything the media loved. By Monday, the world would know. But Marcus had other plans. Zara was walking to her car after school when she heard footsteps behind her. Fast, aggressive. She turned just as Marcus slammed into her, shoving her against the side of a van. You think you've won? His face was inches from hers, twisted with rage. You think this is over? Get off me. My father knows someone's been in his files. He knows someone's been talking. His grip tightened on her shoulders. Was it you? Did you hack us? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. He slammed her against the van again. Her head hit the metal and stars exploded behind her eyes. I'm going to find out who betrayed us, Marcus snarled. And when I do, I'm going to make Danny Chen look like a spa day. Let go of me, Marcus, now. Or what your daddy going to come save you again? No. Zara's voice was calm despite the fear coursing through her. I'm going to save myself. She drove her knee up into his groin. Marcus doubled over, gasping. Zara shoved him away, and he stumbled, crashing into another car. You're done, she said, standing over him. You just don't know it yet. She walked away without looking back. But her hands didn't stop shaking until she got home. Saturday morning. The story broke. Prominent Atlanta family accused of systematic cover-up of son's crimes. It was everywhere. Television, radio, social media. Every news outlet in the country was running with it. The evidence was damning. The testimonies were devastating. The recordings were undeniable. By noon, the FBI had opened an investigation. By 3, Marcus's father had been arrested on charges of conspiracy, witness tampering, and assault for hire. By 6, Marcus himself was taken into custody. Zara watched the footage of him being led out of his house in handcuffs, his face a mask of disbelief and fury. He looked at the cameras, and for a moment, it seemed like he was looking directly at her. She didn't flinch. The phone rang. Jasmine. Are you watching this? Yeah. We did it. We actually did it. Zara should have felt triumphant. She should have felt vindicated. Instead, she felt hollow. Danny's still in the hospital. I know. All those other victims are still dealing with what he did to them. I know. Taking Marcus down doesn't undo any of that. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. No, it doesn't. But it stops him from hurting anyone else. That has to count for something. Zara looked out the window at the setting sun. Yeah, I guess it does. Sunday. Zara went back to the hospital. Danny was awake. Weak, but awake. His mother was by his bedside, and when she saw Zara, her expression was different than before. Mrs. Chen, I just wanted... I know. Danny's mother stood and walked over to her. I saw the news. I know what you did. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry Danny got hurt. So am I. She paused. But you didn't hurt him. Marcus did, and now Marcus is going to pay for it. Does Danny know? He knows. Mrs. Chen's eyes filled with tears. He wanted me to tell you something. What? He said thank you for not giving up, for fighting when he couldn't. Zara felt her own tears spilling over. Can I see him? Mrs. Chen stepped aside. Danny was propped up in bed, his face still bruised and swollen, but his eyes were clear. He smiled when he saw her. Hey, he said weakly. Hey yourself. She sat down beside his bed. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. 3 trucks. He tried to laugh but winced in pain. Worth it though. What? Seeing Marcus in handcuffs, that was worth everything. Zara shook her head. You almost died. But I didn't, and neither did anyone else. Danny reached out and took her hand. You saved us, Zara. All of us. Every kid Marcus was ever going to hurt. You saved them. I just did what anyone should have done. No, you did what no one else was brave enough to do. There's a difference. They sat in silence for a while, holding hands, 2 survivors of a war that was finally ending. What happens now? Danny asked. Now we heal. All of us. Zara squeezed his hand. And we make sure this never happens again. Monday morning. Zara walked into Westbrook High School for the first time since the story broke. Everything was different. Students who had avoided her now nodded in respect. Teachers who had looked the other way now met her eyes. The hallways that had felt hostile now felt almost welcoming. But it wasn't victory she felt. It was responsibility. Jasmine found her by her locker. Principal wants to see you. Am I in trouble? The opposite. They want to discuss creating an anti-bullying program. They want you to lead it. Zara laughed despite herself. 2 weeks ago, they wouldn't even acknowledge bullying existed. Now they want me to fix it. Funny how that works, Jasmine grinned. So, what do you say? Zara thought about Danny in his hospital bed, about Ashley and Derek and Tyler and Michelle, about Rebecca who had risked everything to bring her own family down, about all the kids at all the schools who were suffering right now, waiting for someone to help them. I say yes, Jasmine hugged her. I knew you would. As they walked toward the principal's office, Zara's phone buzzed, a text from Vin. Proud of you, kid. Always have been, always will be. She smiled and typed back. Thanks, Dad, for everything. Family doesn't need thanks. Family just shows up. Zara pocketed her phone and kept walking. The war was over. The healing was just beginning, and she was exactly where she needed to be. 3 weeks after Marcus Thornton's arrest, Zara received a letter. It arrived in a plain white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with typed words that made her blood run cold. You destroyed my family. Now I'll destroy yours. Watch your back. She showed it to Vin immediately. Where did this come from? He asked, his voice tight. It was in the mailbox. No postmark. Someone delivered it by hand. Vin examined the envelope, turning it over in his hands. Marcus is in juvenile detention. His father is awaiting trial. Who else would send this? I don't know. Maybe one of his friends. Someone who blames me. Or someone we haven't identified yet. Vin pulled out his phone. I'm calling Detective Williams. While he made the call, Zara sat at the kitchen table, staring at the letter. She had thought it was over. She had thought taking down Marcus meant the danger was gone. She had been naive. Detective Williams arrived within the hour. She photographed the letter, bagged it as evidence, and asked Zara dozens of questions about anyone who might want to hurt her. The Thorntons had a lot of allies, the detective said. Business partners, political connections, people who benefited from their power. Taking them down made a lot of enemies. So this could be anyone. Unfortunately, yes. I'll run the letter for fingerprints, but I'm not optimistic. Whoever sent this knew what they were doing. What do we do in the meantime? Be vigilant. Vary your routines. Don't go anywhere alone. Detective Williams looked at Vin. And you might want to consider additional security. After she left, Vin sat down across from Zara. I'm hiring bodyguards. Dad, no. I can't live like that. You can if it keeps you alive. I'm not going to let some anonymous threat control my life. That's exactly what they want. What they want is to hurt you, and I'm not going to let that happen. Zara reached across the table and took his hand. I understand you're scared. I'm scared too. But if I hide, if I stop fighting, then everything we did was for nothing. Marcus's victims would have suffered for nothing. Vin's jaw tightened. You're too stubborn for your own good. I learned from the best. Despite her brave words, Zara couldn't shake the fear that followed her everywhere. She started looking over her shoulder constantly. Every unfamiliar face seemed threatening. Every car that drove too slowly past the house made her heart race. At school, she tried to act normal, but Jasmine noticed immediately. What's wrong? She asked on Tuesday morning. Nothing. Liar. You've checked the hallway 3 times since we started talking. Zara sighed and told her about the letter. Jasmine's face went pale. Have you told the school? Detective Williams informed them. They've increased security, but honestly, what can they do? If someone really wants to get to me, a few extra guards won't stop them. Then what will? I don't know. Finding out who sent it, I guess? How do we do that? Zara had been thinking about that question all night, and she'd come to one conclusion. We talked to Rebecca. Rebecca Thornton had disappeared after the story broke. She'd given her testimony to the FBI, corroborated the evidence she'd provided, and then vanished. No one knew where she'd gone. But Zara had a way to reach her. Before Rebecca had left, she'd given Zara a burner phone number. For emergencies only, she'd said. This felt like an emergency. Zara sent a text that evening. Need to talk. Someone threatened me. Anonymous letter. The response came 3 hours later. Meet me tomorrow. Same place. Same time. Wednesday. 6 o'clock. The Peachtree Library. Zara found Rebecca in the same back corner, but she looked different. Thinner. Paler. Like she hadn't slept in weeks. You look terrible, Zara said. Thanks. You look like you've seen a ghost. I got a threatening letter. Someone hand-delivered it to my house. No fingerprints, no postmark, no way to trace it. Rebecca's expression didn't change. What did it say? Zara recited the words from memory. You destroyed my family. Now I'll destroy yours. Watch your back. That's not Marcus's style. Too theatrical. Then who? Rebecca was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that made Zara's stomach drop. My mother. Your mother, I thought she was just a society wife. I thought she didn't know about any of this. That's what everyone thinks. That's what she wants everyone to think. Rebecca leaned forward. My mother isn't a victim of my father's schemes. She's his partner. She's always been his partner. The difference is, she's smarter than him. She never leaves evidence. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I was scared. I thought if I gave you enough to take down my father and Marcus, that would be enough. I didn't think my mother would retaliate. Well, she has, and now I'm in danger. You're not just in danger, Zara. You're her primary target. She blames you for everything. For the arrest, the scandal, the destruction of everything she built. What does she want? Revenge. And she won't stop until she gets it. Zara felt ice spreading through her veins. How do I stop her? I don't know. My mother has spent her whole life operating in the shadows. She has connections my father never knew about, resources he never touched. Rebecca's voice cracked. She's the most dangerous person I've ever known, and now she's coming for you. Thursday morning. Zara woke to find her car vandalized. All 4 tires slashed, windows smashed, and scratched into the hood a single word. Soon. She called Detective Williams immediately. "Same as the letter," the detective said, examining the damage. "No witnesses, no cameras that caught anything useful, no forensic evidence. It's Marcus's mother, Rebecca told me." "Victoria Thornton." Detective Williams raised an eyebrow. "She's been cooperating with the investigation. She claims she had no knowledge of her husband's activities." "She's lying. Rebecca says she's been her husband's partner all along. She's the one threatening me." "Do you have proof?" "Just Rebecca's word." "That's not enough. Victoria Thornton has powerful lawyers and a spotless public image. Without concrete evidence, I can't touch her." "So, I'm just supposed to wait until she actually hurts me?" Detective Williams looked at her with genuine sympathy. "I'm sorry, Zara. I know this is frustrating, but my hands are tied." After she left, Zara sat on the curb next to her destroyed car and cried. She had fought so hard. She had risked everything. She had won. And it still wasn't enough. Vin found her there an hour later. "I heard about the car," he said, sitting down beside her. "I can't do this anymore, Dad. Every time I think it's over, something else happens." "I know. Maybe I should have just kept my head down. Maybe I should have ignored Marcus and let him do whatever he wanted. At least then I'd be safe." Vin was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something she didn't expect. "Do you remember what you said to me the night before you testified at the board meeting?" Zara shook her head. "You said you were tired of running, tired of starting over, tired of letting fear control your life." "I remember." "Has that changed?" She thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," she finally said. "It hasn't." "Then don't give up now, not when you're so close." "Close to what?" Vin looked at her with eyes full of pride and determination. "Close to finishing what you started." Friday. Zara decided to go on the offensive. If Victoria Thornton wanted a war, she'd get one. She called Jasmine. "I need everything you can find on Victoria Thornton. Every charity she's involved with, every board she sits on, every public appearance she's ever made." "What are you looking for?" "Cracks in her armor. She's spent years building a perfect image. That means she's spent years hiding something. I'm going to find out what." "This is dangerous, Zara." "I know, but waiting for her to attack me is more dangerous." By Saturday afternoon, Jasmine had compiled a dossier on Victoria Thornton that would make a private investigator jealous. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Victoria was a philanthropist, a community leader, a devoted mother and wife. She'd raised millions for charity, served on the boards of 3 major foundations, and been honored by the city of Atlanta twice. But beneath the surface, there were anomalies. "Look at this," Jasmine said, pointing to a spreadsheet. "Victoria is the treasurer of the Peachtree Children's Foundation. They raised $2 million last year for underprivileged youth. So when I traced the donations, almost half of them came from shell companies that don't seem to exist. No physical addresses, no employees, no business activities. Just money flowing in and then disappearing into the foundation's accounts. You think she's laundering money? I think it's worth investigating." Zara looked at the evidence Jasmine had gathered. It wasn't proof, not yet, but it was a thread, and if she pulled hard enough, something might unravel. "Can you dig deeper? Find out where the money actually goes." "I can try, but this is federal-level stuff, Zara. If Victoria is laundering money, we're talking about serious charges, years in prison." "Good. Let's make sure she gets them." Sunday. Zara received another message. This time, it wasn't a letter. It was a video sent to her personal email from an anonymous account. The footage showed her walking to school, getting into a car, eating lunch with Jasmine, going home. Someone had been following her, filming her, documenting her every move. At the end of the video, white text appeared on a black screen. "I know everything about you, your schedule, your friends, your weaknesses. You can't hide from me." Zara's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. She showed Vin immediately. His reaction was immediate and fierce. That's it. You're not going to school tomorrow. We're getting security and we're getting it now. Dad. No arguments. This isn't a game anymore. This woman is stalking you. I know, but hiding isn't going to stop her. Then what will... Zara thought about the financial records Jasmine had found. The shell companies. The suspicious donations. Evidence, she said. Real evidence that proves what she's doing. Not just the threats, but everything. The money laundering, the intimidation, all of it. How do you plan to get that? I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Try me. Zara took a deep breath. I want to confront her, face to face. Get her to admit what she's doing while I'm recording. Vin's expression darkened. Absolutely not. Dad, listen to me. Victoria thinks she's untouchable. She thinks she can threaten and stalk and intimidate without consequences because she's always been protected. But that arrogance is her weakness. If I push the right buttons, she'll slip up. And if she doesn't slip up, if she decides to hurt you instead, then we'll have proof of that too. Vin was silent for a long moment. She could see the war happening inside him, the father desperate to protect his daughter battling with the man who respected her strength and determination. I'll be nearby, he finally said. Hidden. If anything goes wrong, I'm intervening. Fair enough? And you're wearing a wire. Obviously. He shook his head. I can't believe I'm agreeing to this. I can, because you know it's the right thing to do. I know it's the brave thing to do. That's not always the same as right. Maybe not, but it's who I am. Monday morning, Zara skipped school for the first time since arriving at Westbrook. Instead, she went to the Thornton estate. The house was massive, a sprawling mansion that screamed old money and older secrets. Zara walked up the long driveway, her heart pounding, knowing that Vin was parked down the street with a clear line of sight to the front door. She rang the bell. A housekeeper answered, looking surprised to see her. I'm here to see Mrs. Thornton. Do you have an appointment? No, but she'll want to see me. Tell her Zara Mitchell is here. The housekeeper hesitated, then disappeared inside. 2 minutes later, she returned. Mrs. Thornton will see you in the garden room. Victoria Thornton was exactly what Zara had expected. Beautiful, poised, immaculately dressed. The kind of woman who looked like she'd never had a bad day in her life. But her eyes told a different story. Cold, calculating, dangerous. Zara Mitchell, Victoria said smoothly. The girl who destroyed my family. The girl who exposed your family. There's a difference. Is there? Victoria gestured to a chair. Please sit. I'll stand. Suit yourself. Victoria crossed her legs elegantly. To what do I owe this unexpected visit? I want you to stop. Stop what? The letters, the stalking, the threats, whatever you're planning next. Victoria's expression didn't change. I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You've been threatening me since your husband was arrested. You're trying to scare me into silence. That sounds very dramatic, but I assure you I've done nothing of the sort. Zara pulled out her phone and played the surveillance video. You filmed me. You documented my schedule, my friends, my routines. This is stalking. Victoria watched the video with the same mild expression. I've never seen this before in my life. Anyone could have filmed you. Rebecca told me everything. She told me you're the real power behind your family, that you're smarter and more dangerous than your husband ever was. For the first time, something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Anger, maybe, or fear. My daughter is troubled. She's always been prone to fantasies. She gave us the evidence that put your husband in jail. That doesn't sound like fantasy. Rebecca will say anything to hurt us. She's always resented her family's success. Zara leaned forward. Let me tell you what I think. I think you've spent years hiding behind your husband and your son, letting them take the risks while you pulled the strings. And now that they're facing consequences, you're scared. Because without them to protect you, your own secrets might come out. What secrets? The shell companies. The money laundering through your charities. The millions of dollars that flow in and disappear without any record of where they actually go. Victoria's composure cracked, just for a second, but Zara saw it. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe not, but the FBI might find it interesting, especially when they start looking at your financial records instead of just your husband's. Victoria stood abruptly. This conversation is over. No, it's not, because I'm going to tell you what happens next. Zara stepped closer. You're going to stop threatening me. You're going to stop following me. You're going to leave me and everyone I care about alone. Or what? Or I give everything I have to the FBI. And I don't just mean the financial stuff. I mean Rebecca's testimony about your involvement. I mean the evidence that you knew about everything your husband and son did and helped cover it up. Victoria's face had gone pale. You're bluffing. Try me. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Victoria smiled. It was a cold, terrible smile. You're very brave, little girl, but bravery won't protect you from what's coming. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You think you've won. You've only made things worse. For yourself. For your father. For everyone you love. I'm not scared of you. You should be. Victoria stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Because I don't leave witnesses. I don't leave enemies. And I don't forget. Zara held her ground. Neither do I. She turned and walked out, her legs shaking but her head held high. She had what she needed. Every word Victoria had said was recorded. Every threat, every implication, every slip of composure. Now it was time to finish this. Tuesday morning. Zara sat in Detective Williams's office playing the recording. The detective listened in silence, her expression growing more serious with each passing minute. When it was over, she looked at Zara with something like respect. You got her. That's enough for a warrant to investigate her finances. Will it stick? If Jasmine's research is accurate, and if the FBI finds what we think they'll find, Victoria Thornton is going away for a very long time. What about the threats, the stalking? She was careful with her words. She didn't directly admit to anything specific, but combined with the other evidence, it paints a picture. Zara nodded. She had hoped for more. A full confession, an admission of guilt. But this would have to be enough. What happens now? Now we build a case. We subpoena records, interview witnesses, trace the money. It'll take time, but we'll get there. And in the meantime, what do I do? Detective Williams smiled. You live your life. You go to school, spend time with your friends, be a normal teenager. Let us handle Victoria. Is it really over? Almost. We just need to finish what you started. Wednesday afternoon. The FBI raided the Peachtree Children's Foundation. By evening, Victoria Thornton had been arrested on 12 counts of money laundering, wire fraud, and conspiracy. The news broke during dinner. Zara and Vin watched in silence as reporters detailed the scope of Victoria's crimes. Millions of dollars funneled through fake charities. Years of deception. A lifetime of secrets finally exposed. It's done, Vin said quietly. Zara shook her head. Not quite. Marcus is still facing trial. His father is still awaiting sentencing. There are still victims who are hurting. But the immediate threat is gone. Yeah, I guess it is. She should have felt relieved, triumphant. Instead, she felt hollow. What's wrong? Vin asked. I keep thinking about Rebecca. She gave up everything to help us. Her family, her home, her entire life. And now she's alone somewhere hiding from the consequences of doing the right thing. Have you heard from her? No. She hasn't answered any of my messages since Victoria was arrested. Vin was quiet for a moment. Maybe she needs time. Processing something like this takes a while. Or maybe she regrets it. Maybe she wishes she'd never helped me. Do you really believe that? Zara thought about it. About Rebecca's haunted eyes. About the courage it had taken to betray her own family. No, she finally said. I don't. Thursday. A letter arrived. But this one wasn't threatening. It was from Rebecca. Zara tore it open with trembling hands. Dear Zara, by the time you read this, I'll be far away. Somewhere my family can't find me. Somewhere I can start over. I want you to know that I don't regret what I did. Helping you was the first right thing I've done in my entire life. For years, I watched my family hurt people. I watched them destroy lives, and I did nothing. I was too scared, too weak, too trapped. You showed me that there was another way, that standing up was possible. That fear didn't have to win. I'll never forget that. Thank you for being brave when I couldn't be. Thank you for fighting when I was too scared to try. And thank you for treating me like a person, not a Thornton. I hope someday I can be half as strong as you. Your friend Rebecca. Zara read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. Rebecca was gone, but she wasn't forgotten. And neither was the lesson she'd taught Zara. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from everything you know. And sometimes the only way forward is to burn your past to the ground. Friday. 1 month since Zara had first walked into Westbrook High School. So much had changed. Marcus was in juvenile detention awaiting trial. His father had pleaded guilty to multiple charges and was facing 15 years in prison. Victoria had been denied bail and was awaiting her own trial. The Thornton Empire had crumbled, and in its place, something new was growing. The anti-bullying program Zara had agreed to lead was already making a difference. Students who had been too scared to speak were finding their voices. Teachers who had looked the other way were being held accountable. The culture of fear that had defined Westbrook was slowly being replaced by something better. Zara stood in the gymnasium, looking out at the same space where Vin had confronted Marcus just weeks ago. Jasmine found her there. Ready for the assembly. As ready as I'll ever be. You're going to be great. You always are. I don't feel great. I feel terrified. Jasmine laughed. That's how you know you're doing something important. The terror means you care. Students began filing in, filling the bleachers, their conversations echoing off the walls. Zara took a deep breath. She thought about Danny finally home from the hospital. She thought about Ashley and Derek and Tyler and Michelle slowly healing from what Marcus had done to them. She thought about Rebecca somewhere far away, building a new life. She thought about her own journey, from a scared little girl in a Detroit group home to someone who had taken on one of the most powerful families in Atlanta and won. The principal approached. We're ready for you. Zara walked to the podium. 1,000 faces looked back at her, some curious, some skeptical, some hopeful. She leaned into the microphone. My name is Zara Mitchell, and I want to tell you a story about what happens when one person decides to stop being afraid. The gymnasium erupted in applause before Zara even finished her first sentence. She stood at the podium looking out at a sea of faces that had transformed over the past month. Students who had cowered in corners now sat with their heads high. Teachers who had averted their eyes now watched with pride. The very air felt different, charged with something that hadn't existed before. Hope. A month ago, Zara continued when the applause died down. I walked into this school as a nobody, a transfer student, just another face in the crowd. She paused, letting the words settle. But I saw something that first day that changed everything. I saw a freshman get beaten bloody while 50 students watched. I saw teachers walk past like nothing was happening. I saw a whole community paralyzed by fear. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. And I made a choice. I chose not to look away. I chose to help. And that one small choice started something none of us could have predicted. She looked out at Danny Chen sitting in the front row with his parents. His face was still healing, but he was smiling. Danny Chen almost died because he was brave enough to tell the truth. Ashley Morrison, Derek Williams, Tyler Jackson, Michelle Foster. They all risked everything to stand up and say what Marcus Thornton had done to them. Each name earned a wave of applause. And you know what happened? When one person spoke, others found the courage to speak too. When one person stood up, others stood with them. That's how change happens. Not through one hero, through a community that decides it's had enough. The applause this time was thunderous. Jasmine caught her eye from the side of the stage and gave her a thumbs up. "I'm not here to tell you that everything is fixed," Zara continued. "It's not. Marcus Thornton is facing trial, but there are other bullies in other schools hurting other kids right now. Victoria Thornton is in jail, but there are other powerful people protecting other abusers." She gripped the podium. "But here's what I've learned. Fear only works if we let it. Bullies only have power if we give it to them. And every single one of us has a choice, every single day, to be someone who looks away or someone who stands up." She stepped back from the podium. "I'm asking you to choose to stand up, not just today, not just this week, every day for the rest of your lives. Because that's how we build a world where kids like Danny don't get hurt, where kids like me don't have to fight alone." She took a breath. "That's how we win." The gymnasium exploded. Students rose to their feet. Teachers clapped until their hands hurt. Even the principal, who had spent years ignoring the problems right under his nose, wiped tears from his eyes. Zara stepped down from the stage, and immediately she was surrounded. Students wanting to shake her hand, teachers wanting to thank her, parents who had heard the stories and come to see the girl who had changed their children's lives. Through it all, she kept looking for one face. She found him near the exit. Vin Diesel leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her with an expression she had never seen before. Pride, yes. But something deeper. Something that looked almost like awe. She pushed through the crowd to reach him. "Not bad for a foster kid, huh?" she said. Vin laughed and pulled her into a hug. "Not bad at all. I couldn't have done it without you. You did most of it without me. I just showed up for the dramatic moments. You showed up when it mattered. That's all that counts." They stood there for a moment, father and daughter, surrounded by chaos and celebration. "So," Vin said, "what's next?" Zara smiled. "I have no idea, but I'm excited to find out." 2 days later, the trial began. Marcus Thornton sat at the defense table looking smaller than Zara had ever seen him. Gone was the swagger, the arrogance, the predatory confidence. In its place was a scared 18-year-old facing the consequences of his choices for the first time in his life. His lawyers had tried everything to get the case dismissed. They'd argued that Marcus was a minor, that his actions had been exaggerated, that he was the victim of a media witch hunt orchestrated by a celebrity family. None of it worked. The evidence was too overwhelming. The testimonies too consistent. The public outcry too loud. Zara sat in the front row of the courtroom, flanked by Jasmine on one side and Danny on the other. Behind them sat Ashley, Derek, Tyler, Michelle, and dozens of other students who had come to watch justice finally be served. The prosecutor called her first witness. Danny Chen walked to the stand. "Mr. Chen," the prosecutor began, "can you describe your first encounter with Marcus Thornton?" Danny's voice was steady. "It was my first week of freshman year. I was at my locker and Marcus walked up to me. He said I was in his way. I tried to move, but he grabbed me and threw me against the lockers." "What happened then?" "He told me that this was his school and I was nothing. That if I ever got in his way again, he'd make sure I regretted it." "Did you report this incident?" "No." "Why not?" Danny's voice cracked. "Because everyone told me it wouldn't matter. That Marcus's father would make it go away. That I'd only make things worse for myself." "And did Marcus continue to target you?" "Yes. For the next 3 years. He made my life hell." "Can you describe the attack that put you in the hospital?" Danny took a shaky breath. "I was walking home from the convenience store. 3 men grabbed me. They beat me until I couldn't move. They told me this was what happened to people who talked. Did they say who sent them? No, but I knew. Everyone knew. The prosecutor nodded. Thank you, Mr. Chen. No further questions. Marcus's defense attorney stood. He was a slick man in an expensive suit who looked like he'd defended worse people than Marcus Thornton. Mr. Chen, you testified against Marcus Thornton at the school board meeting, correct? Yes. And how long after that testimony did the attack occur? 3 days. So you have no direct evidence linking Marcus to the attack? No recording, no witnesses identifying him, just your assumption. I know what I know. What you know is what you want to believe. Isn't it possible the attack was completely unrelated to your testimony? Danny's hands clenched. 3 men beat me unconscious and told me this was what happened to people who talked. How is that unrelated? I'm asking the questions, Mr. Chen, not you. Objection, the prosecutor said, badgering the witness. Sustained, the judge replied. Move on, counselor. The defense attorney smiled like he'd already made his point. No further questions. As Danny stepped down from the stand, Zara caught his eye. She nodded, trying to convey everything she couldn't say out loud. You did great. You were brave. I'm proud of you. Danny nodded back. The trial continued for 3 more days. Witness after witness took the stand. Ashley described the threats Marcus had made to keep her in their relationship. Derek told the story of how Marcus had destroyed his college prospects over a video game. Tyler explained the years of forced homework and constant intimidation. Michelle finally told the world what Marcus had tried to do to her at that party. Each testimony was another nail in Marcus's coffin. And through it all, Zara watched him. Watched the way his expression shifted from defiance to disbelief, to something that almost looked like recognition. He was finally understanding what he had done, what he had become. She almost felt sorry for him, almost. On the 4th day, the prosecution called its final witness. The state calls Zara Mitchell. Zara stood and walked to the front of the courtroom. She could feel Marcus's eyes on her the whole way. She didn't look at him. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor began. Miss Mitchell, when did you first encounter Marcus Thornton? On my first day at Westbrook High School, he was assaulting a freshman named Danny Chen. He slammed him against a locker and broke his nose. What did you do? I helped Danny up, made sure he got to the nurse's office. And how did Marcus respond to your intervention? He made it clear that I had made an enemy. Over the next 2 weeks he targeted me. Threats, vandalism, harassment, rumors. Can you describe some specific incidents? Zara detailed everything. The sticky notes on her locker, the stolen gym clothes, the destroyed car, the surveillance video, the physical confrontation after the pep rally. And were you scared? The prosecutor asked. Yes, but I was more scared of what would happen if I stayed silent. Why is that? Zara finally looked at Marcus. He met her eyes and for a moment something passed between them. Not hatred, not anger, something more complicated. Because silence is what allows people like Marcus to keep hurting others. When no one speaks up, when everyone looks away, bullies learn that they can do whatever they want. The only way to stop them is to make noise, to stand up, to refuse to be afraid. Thank you, Miss Mitchell. No further questions. The defense attorney approached. He had the same smug expression he'd worn throughout the trial. Miss Mitchell, your father is Vin Diesel, correct? Yes. And he showed up at the school pep rally in front of hundreds of witnesses to confront Marcus Thornton. To protect me, Marcus had grabbed my arm. Some might say your father used his celebrity status to intimidate a minor. Some might say Marcus used his father's power to hurt dozens of students for years. What's your point? A few laughs from the gallery. The defense attorney's smile tightened. My point is that you came to Westbrook with a grudge. You targeted Marcus from day one. You manipulated other students into making false accusations. Zara leaned forward. False accusations. Danny Chen almost died. Ashley Morrison lived in fear for months. Tyler Jackson did Marcus's homework for 3 years. Michelle Foster was assaulted at a party. Those are facts. Documented. Verified. True. They're allegations. They're testimonies. Under oath. Just like mine. You organized a campaign to destroy Marcus Thornton's reputation. I organized a campaign to expose the truth. There's a difference. The defense attorney paused. He was losing, and he knew it. No further questions. Zara stepped down from the stand. As she passed Marcus, she stopped. I didn't want this, she said quietly, so only he could hear. I just wanted you to leave people alone. You chose this. Marcus said nothing, but his eyes for just a moment weren't hateful. They were lost. Zara walked back to her seat and didn't look at him again. The verdict came on Friday afternoon. The jury had deliberated for 6 hours. When they filed back into the courtroom, not one of them would meet Marcus's eyes. That told Zara everything she needed to know. Has the jury reached a verdict? The judge asked. The foreperson stood. We have your honor. On the count of assault in the first degree, how do you find guilty? On the count of conspiracy to commit assault, guilty. On the count of harassment, guilty. On the count of intimidation of witnesses, guilty. Each word hit like a hammer blow. Zara heard Ashley start crying beside her, felt Danny squeeze her hand, saw Marcus's face crumble as the reality finally hit him. It was over. Marcus Thornton, the judge said, you have been found guilty on all counts. You will be sentenced in 30 days. Until then, you will be remanded into custody. The bailiff approached Marcus. As they put him in handcuffs, he looked back at the gallery. At the victims, he had tormented. At the community, he had terrorized. And finally at Zara. I'm sorry, he said. Zara didn't know if he meant it. She didn't know if it mattered, but she nodded anyway. Because even monsters were still human, and even humans could change. Whether Marcus would was no longer her problem. The celebration that night was massive. Jasmine had organized a party at her house. Seemingly, everyone who had ever been hurt by Marcus Thornton was there along with their families and friends and supporters. Zara moved through the crowd accepting congratulations, giving hugs, feeling a warmth she hadn't experienced in a long time. She found Danny sitting alone on the back porch. Hey, she said, sitting down beside him. Why aren't you inside celebrating? I am celebrating, just quietly. You okay? Danny was quiet for a moment. I keep thinking about what you said, at the trial, about how you were more scared of staying silent than of speaking up. Yeah. I wish I had been brave like that, years ago. Before it got so bad. Zara shook her head. You were brave when it counted. You testified. You helped put him away. That took more courage than anything I did. You really believe that? I know it. She bumped his shoulder. Give yourself some credit, Danny. You're a survivor. And now you're a fighter. He smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Thanks, Zara, for everything. Thanks for trusting me. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars, listening to the celebration inside. Eventually, Danny went back to the party. Zara stayed. A few minutes later, Vin found her. Hey kid, Jasmine's looking for you. Something about a speech. I've given enough speeches. Tell that to the crowd of people who want to hear from you. Zara sighed and stood up. Being a hero is exhausting. You're not a hero. She raised an eyebrow. Ouch. Heroes are people in capes who swoop in and save the day. You're something better. You're a regular person who decided to do the right thing even when it was hard. That's rarer and more valuable than any superpower. Zara felt tears prick her eyes. Dad, I know. He pulled her into a hug. I know. They stood there for a long moment. Then Vin stepped back. "Now go give your speech. Your fans are waiting." Zara laughed and walked inside. The crowd parted as she moved to the front of the living room. Jasmine handed her a glass of sparkling cider. "Speech, speech, speech." Zara held up her hands. The room went quiet. Okay. One last speech." Cheers. "When I came to Westbrook, I expected another year of keeping my head down, another year of being invisible, another year of waiting until I could leave and start over somewhere else." She looked around the room at the faces watching her. Friends now. Family in a way. But something happened. I saw injustice and I couldn't look away. I met people who had been suffering in silence, and I couldn't stay silent. I found a community that was ready to fight back, and I couldn't let them fight alone. She raised her glass. "This victory doesn't belong to me. It belongs to all of us. To Danny, who testified even after being hospitalized. To Ashley, Derek, Tyler, Michelle, who found the courage to tell their stories. To Jasmine, who spent 2 years building a case no one thought would ever matter. To Rebecca Thornton, who risked everything to help bring down her own family." The room was silent now, listening. And to everyone who ever looked away, and then decided to look back. Everyone who was scared and then decided to be brave. Everyone who thought they were alone and then found out they weren't. She lifted her glass higher. To us. To what we built. And to the future we're going to create. To us. The room echoed. Glasses clinked. Cheers erupted. The celebration continued. But Zara slipped away back to the porch, back to the quiet and the stars. Because she knew the truth. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Marcus Thornton was one bully in one school in one city. There were thousands more. Millions more. Kids suffering right now just like Danny had suffered. Just like she had suffered in those group homes before Vin found her. She couldn't save them all. She knew that. But she could try. 1 month later, Zara stood at a podium in Washington, D.C. She had been invited to testify before a congressional committee on school bullying. The story of Westbrook High had gone national, and lawmakers wanted to hear from the girl who had taken down a dynasty. The committee room was packed. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. Zara leaned into the microphone. "My name is Zara Mitchell. I'm 17 years old, and I'm here to tell you that what happened at Westbrook High School is happening in schools across this country every single day." She spoke for an hour. About her experiences. About the systemic failures that allow bullies to thrive. About the changes that needed to happen. When she finished, the room was silent. Then the committee chair spoke. "Miss Mitchell, what would you say to other young people who are facing situations like yours, who feel powerless against bullies and the systems that protect them?" Zara thought about the question. About everything she had learned. About everything she had lost and gained. "I would say that feeling powerless doesn't mean you are powerless. I would say that one voice can become 100 voices if you're brave enough to speak first. I would say that the hardest thing in the world is standing up when everyone around you is sitting down, but it's also the most important." She paused. "And I would say that you're never as alone as you think you are. There are people out there who will stand with you, who will fight with you, who will catch you if you fall. You just have to be brave enough to reach out." The committee chair nodded. "Thank you, Miss Mitchell. Your testimony has been invaluable." After the hearing, Zara found Vin waiting in the hallway. "How'd I do?" "You were incredible, as always." "I was terrified, as always." "That's how you know it mattered." They walked out of the building together into the bright DC sunshine. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. But Zara barely noticed. She was thinking about the future, about the anti-bullying organization she was planning to start. About the schools she wanted to visit. About the kids she wanted to help. There was so much work to do. But for the first time in her life, she felt ready. 3 years later, Zara Mitchell graduated from Georgetown University with a degree in public policy. She had spent her college years building the Mitchell Foundation, an organization dedicated to combating bullying in schools across the country. By the time she walked across that graduation stage, the foundation had helped pass anti-bullying legislation in 12 states and trained over 10,000 teachers in intervention techniques. Vin was in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. After the ceremony, they went to dinner at a small restaurant that didn't care about celebrity. "So," Vin said, "what now?" Zara smiled. It was the same question he had asked her after the assembly at Westbrook, and her answer was different now. "Now I keep going. The foundation is just the beginning. There are still kids out there who need help, schools that need reform, systems that need changing. You can't save everyone. I know, but I can save some. And maybe those people will save others, and eventually we'll build something that outlasts all of us." Vin nodded slowly. "You've come a long way from that scared little girl in Detroit. I had a good teacher. You had a good heart. I just helped you see it." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Zara's phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine. "Turn on CNN, now." Zara pulled out her phone and opened the news app. The headline made her heart stop. Marcus Thornton released from juvenile detention after serving full sentence. The screen showed Marcus walking out of a detention facility, looking older, thinner, different. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. But Marcus just walked to a waiting car head down and disappeared inside. Vin watched her reaction. "You okay?" Zara stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she put the phone away. "Yeah, I'm okay. You're not worried about Marcus?" She shook her head. "No, whatever he was, whatever he did, he's paid for it. What he does now is up to him." "That's very evolved of you." "I've had time to think about it. 3 years is a long time." She took a sip of water. "Besides, holding on to anger only hurts me, not him." Vin smiled. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best." "Damn right you did." 1 week later, Zara received a letter. No return address, plain white envelope. Her heart raced as she opened it, half expecting another threat. But it wasn't a threat. It was from Marcus. "Dear Zara, I don't expect you to read this. I wouldn't blame you if you burned it. But I need to say something even if you never see it. I'm sorry. Not just for what I did to you, but for what I did to everyone. Danny Ashley, Derek Tyler, Michelle, all of them. I spent 3 years in detention thinking about every person I hurt, every life I damaged, every choice I made that brought me here. And I realized something. I wasn't strong. I was weak. The weakest person in that school. Because real strength isn't about making people fear you. It's about having the courage to do what's right, even when it's hard. You taught me that. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to be someone you wouldn't be ashamed to know. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying. Thank you for standing up to me. Thank you for stopping me. Thank you for saving me from myself. Marcus." Zara read the letter 3 times. Then she folded it carefully, put it in her desk drawer, and went back to work. Because she had learned something too. Forgiveness wasn't about the other person. It was about freeing yourself from the weight of anger and resentment. And she was ready to be free. 10 years later, Zara Mitchell stood on the stage of the United Nations General Assembly. The Mitchell Foundation had grown into an international organization. Anti-bullying programs based on the Westbrook model had been implemented in schools in 37 countries. Millions of children had been helped. And today, Zara was addressing the world. "When I was 16 years old," she began. "I walked into a high school in Atlanta, Georgia. I was a foster kid who had been adopted by a famous actor. I had nothing special about me except one thing." She paused. "I refused to look away." The audience was silent. captivated. That refusal, that one small choice, started a chain of events that changed my life. But more importantly, it showed me what happens when ordinary people decide to do extraordinary things. She looked out at the assembled delegates, ambassadors, leaders from every corner of the globe. Every single one of you has the power to change the world, not by being a superhero, not by having special abilities, just by choosing every day to stand up instead of standing by. She gripped the podium. I've spent the last 15 years fighting for children who felt powerless, who felt invisible, who felt alone. And what I've learned is that the biggest lie bullies tell is that no one cares. Because people do care. You care. We care. The question is whether we're brave enough to show it. She stepped back from the podium. I'm asking you to be brave, to look at the children in your countries, your communities, your schools, and decide that their safety matters, their dignity matters, their futures matter. She took a breath. Because they do. They all do. The applause was deafening. That night, Zara sat on the balcony of her hotel room, looking out at the New York City skyline. Her phone buzzed. A video call from Vin. Hey kid, watched your speech. You made me cry. You always cry. I'm a sensitive man. She laughed. Thanks for calling Dad. It means a lot. Wouldn't miss it. You know that. They talked for an hour about everything and nothing. Family stuff, foundation stuff, life stuff. Before he hung up, Vin said something that Zara would remember for the rest of her life. You know what I'm most proud of. It's not the foundation. It's not the speeches. It's not even the lives you've saved. What then? It's that little girl I found in Detroit. The one who told me I wasn't going to save her. She was wrong, by the way. I did save her. Zara felt tears streaming down her face. But here's the thing, Vin continued. She saved me right back. Being your father made me a better person, a better man, and I will never ever be able to repay that. Dad, I love you, Zara. I'm proud of you. And wherever your mom is, wherever she's watching from, I know she's proud too. Zara couldn't speak. The tears were flowing too hard. Now get some sleep, Vin said. You've got a world to change tomorrow. He hung up. Zara sat on the balcony crying and smiling at the same time. She thought about her journey. From a group home in Detroit to the United Nations General Assembly. From a scared little girl to a woman who had changed the world. She thought about Danny and Ashley and Derek and Tyler and Michelle. About Jasmine and Rebecca and all the others who had fought beside her. She thought about Marcus somewhere out there, trying to become better. And she thought about all the kids who would never have to suffer the way they had suffered, because someone had finally decided to stand up. That was her legacy. Not the awards or the speeches or the magazine covers. The kids. The ones who would grow up in a safer world because she had refused to look away. Zara Mitchell stood up and walked inside. Tomorrow there would be more work to do, more battles to fight, more children to protect. But tonight she was at peace. Because she had learned the most important lesson of all. You don't have to be born powerful to make a difference. You just have to be brave enough to try. And she had tried. She had succeeded. And her story would inspire others to do the same long after she was gone. Because that's what happens when one person decides to stop being afraid. They change the world.